a beautiful scene there in the small community of North Ogden, Utah. They came together over the weekend to honor our veterans by standing and singing the national anthem at the local high school football game. That tremendous show of support, a tribute to one of their own. Major Brent Taylor, the mayor of North Ogden, who was killed in an insider attack in Afghanistan. His wife, Jenny, mother to their 7 children, met his casket when it arrived back in the United States at 4 a.m. on Tuesday.
The price of freedom surely feels incredibly high to all those of us who know and love our individual soldier. But the value of freedom is immeasurable to all who know and love America and all that she represents.
Major Taylor was buried in his hometown on Sunday. That same day, before the sun came up, dozens of local volunteers hiked more than a mile up the side of this canyon that overlooks their hometown, carrying what would soon be known as the world's largest free-flying flag, and it was on their backs, as you can see. They were careful not to let the 400-pound, 150-foot-long flag ever touch the ground. They unfurled it ceremoniously just before dawn. It was a surprise tribute to the Taylor family, and they join me now. Major Taylor's wife, Jenny, and his parents, Stephen and Tammy. Welcome to all of you on this Veterans Day. First off, we thank you so much for your service and for the enormous, enormous sacrifice that all of you have made and are making. Jenny, let me start with you. What goes through your mind when you looked at that beautiful flag waving down over your hometown of North Ogden?
Just God bless America. That's all I could think, staring at that beautiful flag, the beautiful people that worked so hard to be able to make that happen, and that great symbol of the country that we love and the freedoms that my husband so bravely fought for. Just true gratitude.
Jenny, you have been so strong. When I watched that video of you speaking in the dark there on Tuesday morning, you were so composed and so focused, and you spoke so beautifully about our country and about your husband. How did you do that?
I like to say Brent was telling me what to say. He was never one to be shy with words, and I feel him very close to me. And when they said I might have an opportunity to share a few thoughts after watching the dignified transfer, because the flight was delayed, I had a couple of extra hours in the middle of the night in my room in Dover, and I just sat down with my laptop to think and collect my thoughts and think, what would Brent want to say? What message would he want to share? It was a conversation he and I had had for 15 years. This love of country and a desire to serve was nothing new. It didn't start in January with this deployment to Afghanistan, and his love for the country certainly didn't start when he met me. And I always say, long before I knew and loved Brent Taylor, I already loved America too. So that was one thing we had in common and still share, and hope to pass on to our children and family and friends, and a great legacy.
There's no doubt in my mind that you're doing that every day. And Tammy and Steve, you raised your family the same way. And Tammy, I read this morning that you, your patriotism really inspired, both of you, inspired your children, several of them, to join the military. How did you do that for them, and what made you do that from the start?
Well, first of all, just to be clear, I never set out to do that. I just loved history, in particular our American history. I was always proud of our country and our heroes, you know, that gave us the freedoms we do. And so I just shared that naturally with our children. A lot of times we would go to museums or whatever just to, you know, talk about that. And if I found a great story about a hero, I would share that with them just so they were learning these great principles of standing up for what's right and being strong and courageous. So that was what we had intended to do, is to help them to be good people no matter what they were doing. And somehow they really listened and became, you know, American heroes, really, all signing up. So
they absolutely are American heroes. This is a quote, Steve, from your son's last post on Facebook, and he was talking about how proud he was of the Afghan people. 4 million Afghans bravely came out to vote in the elections, and he said the strong turnout despite the attacks and challenges was a success for the long-suffering people of Afghanistan and the cause for human freedom. A lot of people look at that battle. We've been there for 17 years, and they think it's a lost cause. But your son did not, and his words make that very clear, sir.
It was almost like he wrote his own eulogy. It was so almost prophetic. He was always positive. He was always upbeat, looking forward, seeing progress being made. Yes, there's some setbacks. There has been some setbacks. But he was always upbeat, and I think he's been that way his whole life, and it's just in his makeup. So that was very touching to read those words, and I've read them several times since.
Well, it's easy, very easy to see where he gets all of this from the three of you, his wonderful parents and his wonderful wife. Jenny, when you heard that it was an insider attack, somebody that he had trained, and he was so close to all these people that he was training there, and obviously felt so strongly about it, what was your reaction to that?
Kind of shock and disbelief. I mean, just to think, several times we would talk throughout this deployment, are you safe? Are you well? Are you guys being careful? Are you protected? And he would always reassure me that they're very careful. They're following all of the protocol and all of the rules and making sure that they're doing their job, but with safety in mind. And so shock, I can't think of another word. I think we're still kind of in shock, but to have heard that and think someone there, it had to have been somewhere there that close that could get to him and penetrate him in that state. But I know he loves the Afghan people. He frequently spoke of the men he served with and how he would spend as much time with them as he could. He had his official advisory jobs that he would do, and the tasks, whatever they were, I don't know because he couldn't give me details, but he would often speak of what they would do in their off hours. They would have, they threw him a birthday party in July, or they would get together and celebrate Columbus Day with the Spanish, or watch the World Cup with the Spanish when Spain was playing, and they'd play basketball, or their different hikes and things, and just talk of a great love that he had for these people. He was not just there on assignment because he had to be, or because he's obligated to be. He loved the NATO allies he served with, the Americans he served with, and he loves the Afghan people. He truly does.
Well, he really felt like he was making a difference with them.
Talk to me about your 7 children, 11 months old, your youngest daughter. How are the older ones holding up, and what will you do, Jenny, or Steve or Tammy, all three of you, to help them remember your son and their dad?
I think that's the million-dollar question that weighs heaviest. Brent and I made every decision together regarding his service to our country, his service to our city and community, and the different things he did. And I do, in the back of my mind, wonder that these poor children have kind of just gotten dragged along. They're too young to have been in on those decisions. But Brent's left a huge legacy. There are many people who know him, who love him, who have stories about him. His own Facebook page for his duties as mayor is a wealth of resources of his own Facebook Live videos, his posts, his sentiments. He's got journals. He's got books that he's read and marked in the margins. There's no shortage of his own words and teachings to share with our children, and we will just have to make sure, especially for little Caroline. She's 1 week from today. My first thought was she won't ever know her father, and I think I was very quickly corrected in my mind. Yes, she will. She absolutely will.
Thank you.
One of the blessings of Brent's being in such a public position, and actually for many years being in different positions where he was even in high school, where he was the student body president, and several things were filmed about him. But we've got just a ton of video and photos from him that we can just go over. Hopefully we'll be able to put them into a nice video of some kind that we can just watch together sometimes, and when the kids are over here visiting or whatever, so that we can just share memories with them.
Definitely.
Well, I know, Jenny, you said you feel so full of all of everything that has been coming your way in terms of the love and support of your family, your wonderful family. And we thank all of you for the service that you've given to America on this Veterans Day, and for sharing his story with us. And I hope maybe you'll share that video with us, and we will share it with everybody who watches, because that would be an honor for us. Thank you so much to all of you for being here tonight.
Sure.
Thank you.
I want to thank the Taylors.